Good morning, good evening, and it is a good afternoon to you all Learning League people out there, summoners out there. It is the one, the only L3, Irony the Bird, getting in some words with you all yet again for the 20th episode of a Learning League. And we're in the third part of the Shifting Meta series. We're going to be talking about something big, something huge, something out of the ordinary. But of course, as first we talk, we want to welcome you to this awesome program that Definitive Esports brings out for y'all. Go ahead and do check them out on D-esports.com for Definitive Esports. I mean, that is like the #1 thing you can find out any resources about EVE Online, CS, Go, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, and any other esports kind of genre that is coming out pretty soon. So do check that out. Also check out the sponsors as well on the bottom edge of the screen. XNG, Antec, Triton, BenQ, and Mad Cats. But again, we are going to be talking about the awesome Cho'Gath, which will be coming up right now. So really quickly, we wanted to bring you this part of the third shifting meta episode, right? And it's not a secret that Cho'Gath's kind of OP. He's kind of big, Yeah. You've seen him being popular during season 1, especially with the top shot GG, hot shot GG of the top lane Cho'Gath with that awesome new speed buff, red buff with the Vorpal spikes on top of what's end with him. But Cho'Gath in general right now in solo queue and in competitive play, recent competitive play, more minor tournaments and stuff like that, in solo mid, invitational and stuff like that. Most people have been building Cho'Gath a little bit more tankier. But why the recent resurgence of Cho'Gath in general, though? Well, Cho'Gath right now has the Rupture, has Feral Stream, has Vorpal Strikes and Feast. I mean, basically these are the abilities. If you want to go check them out, I'll link you on the little description below if you're watching the YouTube video. But in general, this is like the general area of what you want to get noticing about Rupture being a very sought out after ability ever since the consistency got a little bit a lot smoother right now. I mean, if you want to see the video, from the League of Legends patch preview, you can see that over on, hold on, let's just run it one more time. Over on the left side and on the right side, you can see the differences. The new version of Cho'Gath's Rupture actually times out consistently about 0.65 seconds. So it's between what the old Rupture used to be, which is 0.5 to 0.75. The consistency was never there with the old Cho'Gath. So that's why more people were weary about actually using Cho'Gath as a laner, as a jungler, just because, yeah, technically his ganks are awesome, but it depends on your consistency of how to land that shot, because sometimes it might hit and sometimes it won't. Now that with Cho'Gath's pretty much predictability on that shot of the Rupture, you can actually time down and actually get a really easy gank off, just because it's easier to get that skill shot down just because of the awesome consistency of the 0.65 seconds on his Q. So that's his Rupture. So that is kind of the biggest thing that happened to Cho'Gath during the recent patches. I mean, other than, I think right now the biggest thing that happened to him, other than the Rupture, other than also the awesome battle cast Cho'Gath skin, was pretty much the other cast times of Feral Stream and also with Feast getting a little bit fine-tuned. And in general, Cho'Gath's now a more consistent top laner and more consistent middle, actually. A lot of people are playing in the middle because people playing Diana and stuff like that. AP bruisers have been coming into resurgence yet again in the meta of League of Legends again. But so Cho'Gath having those actual timers down on when you can actually land stuff instead of it being kind of random really has topped out Cho'Gath and just being a better champion overall. So yeah, that is pretty good. I mean, other than that, the Vorpal spikes width has changed. I mean, with the size change, whatever. So we had a nerf on somebody named Ezreal, right? Ezreal had his whiff change of his W from about 25 to about 15 or 17. I think that's the number around there. With that, you can't like pretty much automatically hit down onto any champion that's in the way, pretty much. So like with Vorpal spikes being bigger now, you have such a bigger radius to actually hit down on a champion that even though the attack range I think now is down to, no, it's like 150 or so, 125 like in general, like so, 125, like it actually helps out Cho'Gath in general, just being that melee bruiser at the top, because you can actually hit and encompass more targets within that certain area when you hit those Vorpal spikes onto people. And with people building up, just in general with AP bruisers and AP top lanes right now, or AP middles, building up that Abyssal Scepter, you're going to be doing massive amount of damage just with your auto attacks alone, because Vorpal spikes, again, if you guys don't know, Vorpal spikes is actually a magic damage ability, but it's a auto attack as well, so it's just an add-on effect. So you're just going to be DPSing down these champions in the middle or in team fights that they don't know where this damage is really coming from, other than Feral Scream, because Feral Scream usually is the most notable of the AP abilities that's front. But with the Abyssal Scepter on top of your Vorpal spikes, it actually does so much damage. So with Cho'Gath now being a very controlled-centric champion, it really, really helps out for that mid to late game slash the early game as well, just to help CS and help get him going as well. So what we're going to do first, we're going to do two things. We're going to look at Cho'Gath as a jungler, excuse my bad jungling, but I mean, I'm not a jungler per se. And then we're going to look at Cho'Gath in its general kind of proximity as a top laner. So first things first, let's go to the screen. Bam, got it, sweet. So yeah, let's go to the screen. Pretty much what you want to do with Cho'Gath, again, with the awesome Cho'Gath, is pretty much secure that blue, I mean, if you're a jungler. So we're going to go basically start off with the Wolves to Brew Alpha in there. Even though Cho'Gath doesn't have to start Vorpal Spikes, because technically that's the AoE ability that you would want to actually technically start out with, you can still start out with Rupture. Either way, technically, Rupture is just one of the best abilities in the game as a level 1 fighter, just because it pops up everybody like Alistar's Pulverize or any knockup per se. So you have that chance ability, and also you deal pretty good damage, I would say, as a Rupturer. So we do see the team just going stuff over here. I would say this is going to be a really bad invade for both teams, actually, just because we are just kind of buff around. So what I'm going to do is actually just force fast forward through. Alright, and yeah, so we just take each other's blue buffs, no problem indeed. We do see Evelyn going over here, taking him down as well, a little bit poke. So yeah, that's pretty much what you want to do. You want to take over the blue. If you want, you want to harass down on the blue for the awesome champion over there as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what you want to do in the start of this. And we get to see Eve in the middle. In general, again, if you haven't looked at the last episode of Learning League, Evelyn has been becoming prevalent again, and a lot of people are playing them, so please be careful about Evelyn and solo queue in general. But in general, also, if you're going to be building around Evelyn, like right now we see Poppy, we see Sona and Ezreal on the team. Again, if you want to build around Evelyn as a middle character, or as a jungler, it doesn't totally matter, you have to have those other CCers, other tanks to really CC and soak up a lot of that damage. Because if you don't have any of that for Evelyn, you won't win. You totally won't win. Because if Evelyn has to engage in the fight, it's not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight. So I changed up my path. I had to take over here at the blue buff of the opponent. And I'm going to go in for a game. With a quick look. You see the Rupture going down. K control did have to flash away. But I just did the Feral String again. But really quickly. Again, see the response time of the Rupture really quick. From the cast time right here, about 0.5 seconds, you see the Rupture go up, and yeah, I mean, that's just really, really responsive. Like before, when you did any ganks like that with Cho'Gath, you would kind of guesstimate like you have to aim up a little bit more ahead or a little bit more behind per se if you're guessing that she's actually engaging on the to your middle. It really, really hurt pretty much any play of Cho'Gath. I mean, yeah, it's cool that Cho'Gath is a really big beast and he can farm up really well, and that's pretty much how Hotshot GG used them. That's pretty much how most Cho'Gath players use them. But now that you have more consistency, you can actually do a little bit more utility as well. So in general, what is Cho'Gath used as a team? Cho'Gath is a tanky DPS, can go AP, has some decent AP ratios, but doesn't have the best AP ratios per se. But I think the biggest thing for Cho'Gath right now is that he lands that rupture. He is a big, good initiator in team fights in general. So I really like the play of Cho'Gath, and I really like that he now is going to be more consistent in the play and League of Legends in general. But most people in general for solo queue or in general, like when you see him in play, you see him as a tanky DPS. You don't see him as anything else other than that. That's usually how I build him as well, but I usually I can start out Rod of Ages with him, but usually I do start out with Frozen Heart and then just work around the team comp and deny the enemy team as much as I can. So yeah, pretty much that's basically what you want to see in Cho'Gath. Like, you want to just be that disrupting force, and that's what I did over there. Unfortunately for not, Eve did kind of get killed over there, sadly. But yeah, you just want to be that disrupting force, and then just go back in jungle lane, just be up and eat up anything and everything that you can. So, what roles would you use Cho'Gath in general? Cho'Gath can be a support. I mean, technically I use anyone as a support, but Cho'Gath is a decent support. I feel like his rupture brings a lot to the abilities, just like how Malphite's Unstoppable Force can bring up a lot of the abilities into a team fight. But as a support, I wouldn't think he would be the best because he does need Feast, he does need a little bit of CS to kind of go on his way. Jungling is his second forte right now. It used to be like his biggest thing because Jungle Cho'Gath used to be super wrecking havoc and strong. But not a lot of people like playing Jungle Cho'Gath, moreover so that, you know, the speed of jungling right now. I mean, if you see Nocturne's at level 6 compared to me, well, I'm at level 4 still trying to catch up. Yeah, it's pretty hard. Like, yeah, Cho'Gath can be a pretty fast jungler, but he doesn't have to. He can't focus on ganks as much anymore. So I feel like Jungle Cho, even though it's a pretty strong jungle, can't really do too much per se, as much as he used to anymore. Lastly but not leastly, I think his AP middle and his top play is probably the best right now. His top play is probably the best right now, just because you do see like Aurelia, you do see Riven a little bit, but mostly Yorick. Sometimes Jayce. Jayce actually is kind of a counter to Cho'Gath, but it works. Yeah, but Yorick, any of those big popular top laners, Kayle, stuff like that. I mean, Cho'Gath can just reassign and redo himself and actually do a lot of damage per se without actually doing anything in lane. As long as he just stays alive and farms up, it just turns around for Cho'Gath as much as he can. So there you go with that little bit of knowledge. AP middles as well. I mean, Cho'Gath is just a really good counter against. Oh my gosh, this Nocturne is doing so much work. Cho'Gath in general as a middle can do so much against bruisers like Diana and such like that, but it also does a lot against just traditional mids as well, other than people that have high DPS. So like middles, maybe like a Malzahar, maybe like, I'm like thinking of middles right now, like Ahri, but Ahri would actually do pretty good against Cho'Gath. Probably Annie. Annie is pretty stable as a burst caster, but just has to take a little bit of time to knock up. And with any of those casters that you can actually disable, like their combo and such, you can actually do pretty well with Cho'Gath. And on top of that, with that passive of Carnivore, which actually gives you health and mana when you just eat up a minion, or if you eat up a person as well, or a champion, you get a little bit back. So I mean, in general, Cho'Gath's sustain will probably beat out burst, but in general as well, with that feral scream, the W ability which silences opponents will actually do a lot more work as well. So yeah, pretty much that's just general idea of what Cho'Gath can bring, what Cho'Gath's right now bringing to the table in the game of League of Legends. I mean, he's the tanky beast that can do anything about taking all the damage in the world, nomming on all the people in the world, and doing so much work like that. But in general, he is going to be making a resurgence just because he is more consistent and he is more responsible. So this is going to be the end of the first part of the episode. Just to check over a little bit other things about Cho'Gath with the top lane. And the usual thing about Cho'Gath is that top lane. So we're going to see that matchup come into play really soon. Don't you fret, don't you worry. We will be right back with